The Spanish court welcomed a madman or a dwarf each year. They sought amusement and entertainment. They wanted people of pleasure. The mission of these individuals was to dispel the sorrows of kings and nobles. Between 1563 and 1700, it is estimated that more than 120 of these specialists were tasked with sweeping away the court's melancholy. Over time, art historians attempted to uncover their names and stories, but all they found was invisibility. These protagonists were not ordinary servants, nor were they even recorded. To suffer from a mental disorder or a physical anomaly in the court meant to remain unseen, to exist in oblivion. In the gilded halls of the Austria's court, where monarchs surrounded themselves with luxury and extravagance, a group of human beings was considered part of the royal entertainment, those known as the people of pleasure. This title, far from being an honor, marked those who did not fit the norm. People with mental illnesses, dwarfism, or congenital deformities were collected by the nobility as if they were mere curiosities in a cabinet of wonders. Their presence served a dual purpose. Besides entertaining with their uniqueness, they also reflected the supposed benevolence of the sovereign, who kept them in the court as an act of public charity. Yet no traces of them exist in payrolls or palace records. They held no official jobs or titles, yet they were expected to fulfill one duty: to bring joy to the royal household. Some of them were immortalized, and today they can be seen in works of incalculable value at the Prado Museum in Madrid. A portrait in that era was a costly investment, so why depict them? Perhaps it was due to the affection and fondness that princes and infants felt for them, especially in childhood, as one of this troupe's primary roles was to accompany and play with the young royals. At court, they lived relatively well. They ate the finest food, wore the best clothes, and received gifts. However, despite their privileged position, they were constantly mocked and ridiculed. They were treated as rare, inferior beings, though their lives were still better than those of their contemporaries with the same conditions outside the palace, where existence was far harsher. For those who were not fortunate enough, if it can even be called that, to be chosen by a monarch, their fate was far more sinister. Outside the palaces, beyond the daily mockery and scorn, a parallel market emerged that profited from the misery of the most vulnerable. The so-called monster markets. In these sinister spectacles, people with disabilities were displayed as sideshow attractions, reduced to mere spectacles for the public's morbid curiosity. The business was so lucrative that it led to unimaginable atrocities. Some, in their relentless pursuit of profit, went as far as kidnapping healthy children to subject them to inhumane treatments. Some were confined in wooden boxes from infancy to stunt their growth and artificially induce dwarfism. Anything was acceptable in the quest for new prodigies to attract crowds and coins. This dark side of Spanish monarchy history reveals how, for centuries, human suffering was a currency traded in politics, entertainment, and unchecked ambition. Today, we are going to learn about one of these individuals. She must have left a lasting impression on the lives of the palace inhabitants, as she was portrayed not once, but twice by the famous painter Juan Carreño de Miranda. Eugenia Martínez Vallejo. She was born in the municipality of Merindad de Montija in Burgos, Spain, in 1674. The daughter of Antonia de la Bodega and José Martínez Vallejo, she came from a humble family. Her birth was quite peculiar. Her mother gave birth inside a church during Mass, as her water broke and she had no time to reach home. Because of this unusual event, it was said to be a sign that the girl would have a life full of fortune. Apparently, the baby was strong and healthy. But as she grew, so did her voracious appetite. However, at first, this did not seem to be a cause for concern. By the time she turned 1 year old, she already weighed 25 kilograms, 55 pounds. In those days, food was scarce, and Eugenia quickly began to draw attention. Her desperate parents sought medical advice and were instructed to put her on a strict diet to help her lose weight, but it was unsuccessful. By the age of 6, she already weighed 70 kilograms, 154 pounds, and had become the main attraction of the village. Her humble home was constantly surrounded by curious onlookers who wanted to see the fat girl. Her parents could do little but hide her away to prevent her from suffering the constant ridicule and mockery that made her both a source of entertainment and a subject of scorn throughout the village and neighboring areas. Eugenia's fame grew so much that news of her condition spread throughout the kingdom, eventually reaching the ears of none other than King Charles II, who immediately became interested in meeting her. He summoned her parents to present her at court in 1680. The king was so fascinated by her appearance that he proposed that Eugenia become a part of the Spanish court. Her parents did not hesitate and accepted immediately, believing that she would have a better life in the palace. With them, not only was it difficult to feed her properly, but she also could not leave the house due to the constant insults. Eugenia's fame grew even more instantly. That same year, in 1680, the chronicler Juan Cabezas published a small book about the arrival of the giant girl Eugenia Martínez at the court of Madrid. This short work, illustrated with woodcuts, was later reprinted in Valencia and Seville, reportedly selling thousands of copies. In this book, one could read the following description. Eugenia was white and not unpleasant in appearance, though her features were of immense size. Her head, face, neck, and other facial features were as large as 2 men's heads. Her belly was as enormous as that of the largest pregnant woman in the world. Her thighs were so excessively thick and covered with flesh that they merged together, making her private parts indistinguishable to the eye. Her legs were only slightly smaller than a man's thighs, so full of rolls of flesh that they folded over each other in an astonishingly monstrous manner. Though her feet were proportionate to the massive body they supported, nearly the size of a man's feet, she still moved and walked with great difficulty due to the immense size of her body. Upon arriving at the court, she was immediately given the nickname La Monstrua, the monster. Her appearance initially caused astonishment, but she quickly became a source of entertainment. She was dressed in luxurious garments and was especially requested to accompany the noble ladies, who took great amusement in comparing and measuring their slender bodies against Eugenia's. Due to her weight, Eugenia walked with an unsteady gait, which provoked laughter and cruel remarks every time she entered a room in the palace. Her popularity grew so much that King Charles II himself, who paradoxically suffered from severe physical and mental deformities, ordered that she be portrayed twice by the painter Juan Carreño de Miranda. The full-body portraits were titled La Monstrua Vestida, the dressed monster, and La Monstrua Desnuda, the naked monster, both painted in 1680. Eugenia suffered greatly during the long posing sessions required for the painter to capture her likeness. It was an excruciating ordeal for her to remain standing for so many hours without moving. She would finish each session completely exhausted and in significant pain. Today, specialists believe that Eugenia may have suffered from Prader-Willi syndrome, as many of the descriptions of her, along with the characteristics that can be inferred from her portraits, align with this condition. Its symptoms include developmental and growth abnormalities, morbid obesity, and a cheerful, good-humored personality during early childhood, among others. However, despite her health problems and the somber expression captured in her paintings, it is known that she managed to enjoy a good life at the palace. She had many friends and was especially beloved by the royal family. Eugenia passed away around 1699 at approximately 25 years old. There are no records of her adolescence or adulthood, but it is documented that she remained in the Madrid court until her death and continued to be popular even as an adult. Throughout her life, she suffered from morbid obesity, but the official cause of her death remains unknown, as does the location of her burial. The city of Avilés in Asturias decided to honor its illustrious son, Juan Carreño de Miranda, by creating a bronze reproduction of one of his most famous paintings, La Monstrua Vestida. The sculpture, made by Amado González Hevia, better known as Favila, once again brought fame to Eugenia, as it is now one of the most visited statues in the city. The statue features a small detail that was not present in the original painting: a tiny mouse at Eugenia's feet, which has been stolen multiple times. Favila added it because, while working on Eugenia's sculpture, a mouse scurried around his studio, providing him with an unexpected source of inspiration.